I remember sitting in my car before session crying. I just did not want to do one more photo shoot. And it's because I was so overworked. Money was coming in. However, when I divided that by the amount of work I did, I could have worked part-time somewhere else for this amount. That was the season that I was like, okay, nope. So I got really serious about my numbers.
Hello, I am Whitney from Minneapolis.
And I'm Amanda from Seattle.
We have the pleasure to talk to Tiffany Crenshaw of Animal House Photography, North Alabama's leading lifestyle, newborn, and family storytelling photographer. And she is one of the only Black photographers in her field. She has built a profitable business around joy and connection while also continuing to put her family first. And today we're going to talk about how she's been able to do this, how you can set up your business from the start to be profitable, being able to do it without having to give up anything that is important to you, which I think is awesome. I am very excited to hear everything that you have to share. We're just going to jump right in. And so I would love to hear in your own words your path of how you actually came into being a lifestyle family and newborn photographer.
It's a funny path. So... It's a great
Those are the best for it.
So I actually never wanted to be a photographer ever. So
That's always
it's
a good way. I love
start.
it. Starting out with that.
I was actually a second grade teacher for a long time, and I loved that. Loved my work in education, but as I started having babies, I just started taking pictures of them, like with my phone, and honestly. At the time, brand repping was like really cool. I don't know if maybe it's still cool. I don't know. But you could, take pictures of your kids and clothes, and then the companies would give you discounts.
Yeah.
And so it was purely selfish. I just wanted cute clothes for my baby girls. That was literally the only reason I was taking pictures of them.
Oh my gosh. That's
So,
awesome. That's
and
fantastic.
Then one Saturday morning on a whim, I found like a Canon Rebel T5 on Marketplace. And I was like, husband, I need to buy this camera like today. And he's like, what? And I'm like, just trust me. It's going to be good. And so I bought it just to take nicer pictures of them. And of course, people started like asking, so like, are you doing photography now? And I just kept saying no. And finally, I was like, you know what? I need to lean into this thing that everyone keeps, apparently they see something I don't see. And so I said, let's give it a try. And that's how we got going here.
I love that. And I actually feel like a lot of photographers that we've talked to have started out as
so
teachers.
Many of us.
I think there's right? I think that there's something about that, though, that kind of leads you into that teaching profession that just really works so well with going into photography, too.
Was there anything in you, like when you were younger, that you felt like was a creative streak, or was this just kind of like out of the blue for you?
So I always have been a creative person. I went to art school for a few years. I have always been super into writing, and like just kind of production, creating things. So don't make me draw something, because that's not going to end well. But in terms of like more of the like dramatic arts, music, singing, all of those, writing, those sorts of things have always been like in the background for me.
I love that. That's so cool.
And then what about this lifestyle way that you photograph? And I guess for those of you that you're like, what does it mean by lifestyle? I mean, you're doing natural photographs of people in their element where they are. Like that's, I guess, how I would define it. How would you define it? And what kind of made you drawn to that part of it?
So I would define it similarly to you. I would say that it's really where the focus becomes on the connection more than the actual like image itself, and a lot of times it's the transition moments and the in-between moments from your like very formal shot. It's those, the mom glancing like over her shoulder. It's just those little split second things a lot of times to me that kind of encompass that more emotive lifestyle work. And I didn't know all the terms when I started. I
Uh-huh.
started posing babies. So like when I first started, I think we all, when you start newborn photography, you're like, oh, I need to, put these babies in a basket or something. And that's terrible. And you're like, this is
Yeah. Yeah.
terrible. But they make it look so easy, but it's not,
Yeah.
it's not.
It's
But
not.
I realized that those types of images weren't what really drew me in as a mom. And as I looked on like different social media pages for photography, it was the images that were just like you just got that sense of like, oh my gosh, I just feel like I'm in this moment with people, right? And you just felt like you were there and
Hmm.
you were feeling what they were feeling. I was like, I don't know what that is, but that's what I want to create, you know?
Yeah.
Totally. That was one of the things that first drew me to your work, Tiffany. I discovered who you were from a post, I think it was by the Milky Way. Speaking of newborn photography, that's how I
Uh-huh.
started learning all my newborn
Okay.
photography stuff. So I've followed the Milky Way for a long time. And I think that maybe Lisa reposted one of your images or something. And it was one of those that like stopped me. And I was like, I need to see who Tiffany is. Like, I want to click on these
Uh-huh.
pictures. And I just got sucked in on your Instagram looking at all of these beautiful moments that, like you said, it was just those little tiny things that not everybody sees, but as a parent and as a when you have littles, you're like, that's the part I want to remember. Like, I want to remember the little like finger like grasping onto my
Uh-huh.
hair. Like, it was just stuff like that I was like, okay, I want to contact Tiffany and see if we can get her on here because her work just speaks to me as a parent of little kids. Like, I want images
Uh-huh.
Oh,
that are
thank you
like
for
this.
saying that. Makes me so happy. Like, oh, yay.
It's awesome. And when you were starting to shoot more of these like moments, was there like a transition with your clients, or were you starting to just show this is what you were showing, so people that wanted that type of photography were reaching out
Yeah,
to you?
I feel like my clients have grown with me, and
Okay.
some have stayed around through, the awkward middle school phase.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Although middle schoolers aren't
It
so awkward
is.
anymore. It's a little unfair. That's another topic,
No.
but
Oh my,
you
it
know.
really is.
But yeah,
Seriously.
I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
because I did a lot of like mini sessions when I started. I did like the back to school minis with the desk and like the books and the apple. Because I just was like,
Uh-huh.
okay, what do people do? Like, okay, this is what it's August, so this is what you do, and it's Easter, so there needs to be some like bunny ears. I don't know. Like, I was self-taught, so I'm just
Yeah.
doing things, and I just started realizing like, okay, I don't think that's quite me. And so I just started shooting what felt like me. And I didn't really make an announcement about it. But I feel like people started noticing and commenting like, I want that. Like, I want that, just feels so, X, Y, or Z. And so my clients kind of grew with me. And of course you lose some along the way that maybe, you know, are not really a fit for your business, and you're not a good fit for them either. But people, I think
Mhm.
what's been neat is seeing people kind of evolve as I've evolved, and seeing their pictures from when I started. And some of them I'm still able to photograph now. And so that's like really, really special to see the work grow too.
It's really
And I
cool.
think that even shares the connection that people have with you. Like they must really like you to want to stay with you. And I think there's something really important that about that, because even if your style has changed, you made them feel warm and safe and like they were having a good time with you. I think a lot of times we can get clients where if you start to change, or if there's something that didn't click with you, then they're not going to stay on for the long haul. But the ones that really you were able to connect with, love you and want to, and are excited to see you keep growing, which I think is such a important skill
Yeah.
to
And I
have.
think what you said too about people, seeing where you're at, deciding if that's what they want, if that's not what they want. I think showing the work that you want to sell is so important. You like had asked that
Mhm.
question about, did what you show change? And I think sometimes just sharing the work that you feel confident in and that that you want to shoot, sometimes that's enough. You don't have to make a big like, and now I'm doing this. I think you just start evolving your portfolio, and people will either want that or they'll realize like, okay, I don't think that's quite for me, and that's okay. Um, I think not everyone has to be for you, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a hard lesson to learn, I
It
think. I
is.
remember that for me. That was a very hard lesson to learn. Now you're doing this photography that you love and you're profitable. I mean, you're doing amazing at it. And I think a lot of times new photographers get worried that if I change something or do something different, I might lose this or that. But for people that are starting out and wanting to do what they love and they want to actually make money, what advice would you have for them? Because you're able to do all this and you have like this robust family life and you homeschool. Are you still
We
homeschooling this
are,
year?
yeah.
What's like maybe a top piece
I
of
know I'm like,
advice
I
for
have
people
so
wanting to do
much
this?
advice.
It's a big question. It's a very
Well,
big
and
question.
so in my little group coaching program, it's called Business in the Margins, and it's building, a business
Mm,
in the margins of your motherhood around the space you have. And so this is the
yeah.
exact thing like that I try to really hone in with them. You mentioned, people are afraid that if I raise my prices, if I change these things, I will lose clients. And to that, I say, yes, you
Mm,
will. And that's okay. It's not a
mm,
bad thing because you're making space for the people that are going to help you be profitable and have joy in what you're doing. And so that's okay. We have to make room for what we don't know yet. And if we just hold on to where we're at, we have no idea who could be wanting to come into our businesses. And so I think for photographers starting out, I would say to really get a grasp on your numbers and look at, okay, so what are
mm,
my expenses? What do I have to pay to run this business? And what do I want to make? And how many hours or how many sessions do I want to take? And so I see so many photographers posting their work, and you guys maybe have seen this in different like Facebook groups, and they're like, here's my work. What would you pay for it? And I'm like, no,
yep. Yep.
That
no.
is not that is not an effective strategy for getting
No,
yourself
and I
profitable.
understand why. It's because, we want to feel validated that am I good enough? Like, does anybody want to pay for this? And so there's a lot of insecurity we feel in our work. And so I understand the why, but I always respond the same thing. And it's, you've got to know your cost of doing business. What does it cost for you to do this? And how much do you want to work? And that's where you start with your pricing, not based on feelings or someone else, because it's funny, those responses, some people are like, I'd pay 200 for that. And some are like, I'd pay 1,000 or I'd pay. And so it's like, that's not where we start. We got to start with our numbers.
Yes. At least to get like an accurate grasp of it. I pricing when you don't know those numbers can lead to so much
And I have
burnout.
been there for
Yeah.
sure. Like I remember
Uh-huh.
I think it was it was right after kind of lockdown and quarantine. It was my first season after that. It was a fall season. And I remember sitting in my car before a session crying. I just did not want to do one more photo shoot. Did not want to do it. I was like, I can't even get out of this car. I'm such
Uh,
a mess right now. And it's because I was so overworked. And I felt like, I was doing
uh-huh.
really well and money was coming in. Like it was a profitable year in the sense of, that number. However, when I divided that by the amount of work I did, I was like, well, this is
Yeah.
kind of crazy. Like, I could have worked part-time somewhere else for this amount, and so that was the
Yeah.
season that I was like, okay, nope. I'm not burning myself out like this. I miss my family. I missed all the fall things with them, and I was like, this is just
Uh-huh.
not the way. So I got really serious about my numbers, and it helped so much.
I love
That
it.
yeah, I want to especially, with new photographers, there is that where you're like, I'm making money and I know that I'm working so hard, but I'm seeing this come through. And I have not talked to a single photographer who, when they go back and think about it, they go, you know what? That was really good time for me. Like, that was really
Yeah.
great. I'm glad I did that. Everybody has that realization of like, wow, this was terrible for myself in so
Right.
many ways. And I feel like so much of what we really love to tell new photographers is, learn from what we've done and what has happened so that you don't have to put yourself through that, because that is an awful feeling. I have been there too, Tiffany. Like, I remember more than once sitting in a room or a car just crying and being so upset and thinking, I can't do this anymore, and just being miserable.
And it absolutely leads to burnout. And then you quit. And then you do have to go back to getting a part-time job somewhere, um, which can be fine. Absolutely can be fine. But also, if you take things seriously when it comes to numbers, then you could actually be doing something that you really love and doing it part-time and making money and making more money than you would make like at a coffee shop. And I think I love that you put it so simply about the numbers, because and I've talked about this before, when you start putting numbers in front of me, I'm like, eh. Like, I don't want to think about them. I don't want to plan things, and it is really detrimental. And I think a lot of times as creatives, because honestly, a lot of times society as creatives they have told us that our work maybe doesn't have as much
Mhm.
value as XYZ. And so it's easy to start putting that on yourself and thinking, oh, but I'm not worth this, or I shouldn't, or you start to feel maybe even guilty for telling somebody that something costs too much. And all of this is what I've done. But if you sit down and think about it practically, and you think about the fact that this money is going to help you be a
Mhm.
better mom and take care of your family, and then even free up some time to do other things, it's so important. And so I wish somebody had told me that like at the very
Yeah,
beginning.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah, like you said, it just when you start having that time freed up, it's just so beautiful. And I
mhm.
in July, this past July, I had a sale in my business that was the highest I'd ever had. And I showed my husband and he was like, "Am I gonna like not work any? Like, do I not have to work anymore?" But I was like, you know what? Like, I am not booking anything else for July. And it was at the beginning of the month, and I still had some spots to fill. But I said, you know what? I don't need to. And that freedom of not just filling the space, because you can, but like knowing those, because I knew the numbers and where I needed to be, I was able to see, like, so now it's just time for family. Like, I'm just going to enjoy a month
I love
off
that.
and just be with my babies.
Yeah.
And so it gives you that kind of
Mhm.
freedom when you really know what you need to book and how much you need to bring in, then it stops you from saying yes too many times, you know?
Mhm.
Mhm. Ah, it's awesome. And I love this because I was going to ask you about like kind of what that balance looks like from the day to day. And, having a whole July free is wonderful. But I'd love to hear even more, when it gets into just different seasons, kind of how your day is structured. What are other things you're able to do when you are doing like a full month of work?
Yes, like fall? You mean like it's fall time?
Yes. Like right now?
Like I wasn't stressing last week about, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? There's too many things on this list. Yeah,
Oh
there's
my gosh,
seasons that are
seriously?
just hard. And so I think one, really having a plan, like not letting busy seasons kind of
Mm,
just like pop up on you, but looking ahead so you know what's coming so that you can scale back where you can or outsource where you can. My first thing I ever outsourced was like house cleaning. And
Yeah,
I
yes.
I was in the middle of fall season and I didn't have time to train some. I was like, I don't have time to like train someone to edit things or train someone to do social media. I was in the thick, the thick of it. And I was like, I don't have time to teach those skills to somebody because that's just going to be more time. And so my
Yeah.
coach was like, well, what things still need to be done but don't require you or your training? And we were like listing out, and I was like, I don't have time to scrub. I don't have time to scrub things and edit all these pictures. And so I outsourced. It was like every other week. It wasn't anything crazy, but just that little bit of that few hours that it took off of my plate made a huge difference. So I think getting like this season, it's all about what can I minimize? What can somebody else do, or what needs to go? Even some things maybe just need to go when you're in busy season, or maybe meals look a little different. Like we've got some frozen meal. We just have like frozen meals. Like there's no fancy around here.
Thank
We
goodness.
have a cereal night every week.
For
There's
frozen.
like kids are like, it's cereal night.
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
yes, it's cereal night.
Honestly, I love cereal. I could do
I know,
cereal
it's
every
really
night.
delicious.
So that sounds fantastic to me.
I'm the same too. Cereal night. And then I have compostable paper plates. And we've been using those all because I'm like, and I know it's just a few dishes, but it's still just being able to get rid of it and not have to stress is such a big deal. Yeah, that's such good advice. So kind of to pivot to your clients that you have. We did talk about how that you have these clients that love to stay with you. Is there anything that you do to kind of like encourage them to stay with you, or anything that new like advice you might have for new photographers? Because having clients that return is such a big, I mean, not only is it wonderful to watch them grow and all these, especially with kids, watching them grow or getting to know people, that's great. But also it's kind of consistent money that you have coming in.
So I have two things that I think are really helpful. And I think it's smart for you to ask that question, because we focus so much on bringing in clients, but I don't think we talk enough about keeping the ones that we have, So I think really building relationships. I'm huge on relationships in my business. And so when a client books with me, we set up a time to actually sit down together and talk through their session and talk through what are they excited about, what fears or insecurities do they have. And I think just that 30 minutes or so that I have with people, it makes the session itself so much more relaxed because we've already interacted, right? And so I feel like from the beginning, I just try to really insert as much connection with them as I can. And then sending like follow-up emails. You could do like a 3-month, a 1-year, depending on what business model you have, if you do newborns or if you do milestone sessions or whatever, but having like just some simple follow-up emails that say like, hey, I was thinking about you. I know that your little one's birthday's coming up. Like, I'm just so excited. We have these pictures, even putting one in their email, like from your session, and just things that kind of keep you on there. Like, oh, I do remember that was so much fun. We need to do it again. And you're like, yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
We need
Please
to do it again.
Thank you.
Now, so do you use like a planning software to do this, to keep up with it, or do you just keep track like through Excel?
No, I am so unorganized. I'm good. If we're talking about like strengths and weaknesses, I am fully a creative. I have like no organizational skills, but I do use my workflows in Sprout. So I have my CRM, and so I go ahead and once they're in that workflow, once they've booked a session, I can just schedule out different like touch points. And so those emails will just go out all on their own.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
So you Sprout. That's
okay.
awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't mind, because Erin, who used to co-host with us, she talked about Dubsado. That was the one that she had used. Do you mind talking a little bit about what it is that you like about Sprout? Because we haven't touched upon that, and I've actually never used them. And I think that's kind of a fun thing too for new photographers to find out about, to just kind of get a leg up, because again, that organizational part, when you have so many other new things going on, can be really difficult.
And Amanda is like a master at Excel. It's Excel,
I am.
right? You do
it is
everything.
Excel. I
and
do
I'm
like everything.
I don't know how to
I might need to talk to you later, because I'm trying to make an Excel sheet, and it has not been going well.
It's only because I've been blessed with amazing people in my life who have worked for big corporations who have seen what I've done and they're like, you need a spreadsheet for this. And they have put them together for me.
Oh.
So it's honestly not that I have the skills. It's just that I have had amazing people who have like gifted me their talents with these amazing spreadsheets that can, put these, input your numbers here.
Right.
They're going to end up in this like sheet here that tells you how much more you need to make. And here's where you keep track of all of this. So that part's awesome. But I have been actually looking into different CRMs and those as a possibility because of, like you said, the just trying to stay on top of the correspondence. That part is the part that can get hard. I don't have an Excel spreadsheet for that one yet. So, but I'm thinking that like, gosh, to have it just put into your workflow would be great. So yeah, if you don't mind telling us a little bit more about your experience
absolutely.
with Sprout.
And I can share this with y'all later. I think I do have a code if people want to try it. So,
that'd
but
be awesome.
once
Very
I
cool.
started
Thank
with
you.
the CRM, game changer. Like I had been doing everything through like emailing back and forth and just like, oh wait, I need to tell them about this. Oh wait, we need to talk about their wardrobe. Like it was just too much. And so I got Sprout and it has made my life so much simpler. And the main thing that I have loved it for are the workflows. So what I do is I go in and I have for my family sessions, my maternity and my newborn, I have workflows. And what a workflow is you create a template and you tell it when you want it to go out. And so when they book, I'll say, 1 day later, I want you to send out my what to expect guide. And I put it in there and then it sends it. And so every step of the process from booking all the way throughout their journey is now pre-organized. So I'm hands off. Like I'm just, and so they'll email me and say like, thanks so much for that styling guide. Like, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that. Like, I forgot my assistant sent it to you called Sprout,
Yes, right. Well, like like I said, the outsourcing and like saving time. I mean, I can only imagine because obviously when you first start it, you need to put the energy and effort into it. But then once it's in place, then like you said, it's just, you're like, oh, I forgot yeah, great. I didn't have to think about it. It's just that it's already being done for me. Like that has got to be the most amazing time saver.
And then you can also embed like the contact form on your website. So that way, when you get an inquiry, it goes straight from your website into Sprout. So everything is just like organized in there.
Wow.
It's so nice.
Oh, that's amazing. That is so nice. Okay, cool. And yeah, if you don't mind giving us the code, I would love to give that in our newsletter to all of our subscribers. I think that would be a really helpful thing for anybody that wants to try it out and get some time back for themselves too.
Are there any other things like that'll help it so that you have more time to spend with your family?
So I definitely think a strong CRM is like a starting place for any photographer. And I know sometimes people are like, I don't want to spend the money, but we have to spend some money in order to make the money. And your time is better served with clients than it is with back and forth emails, So definitely a CRM. I would also say having, like a good system for culling and editing your images, like having a strong system in place for that is super important, just so that so that you're really efficient. And then I'd say probably the third thing would be your email, like starting an email marketing early on. I waited until about a year ago to start with email marketing, but if I could go back, I would have started that with my early clients, because it's such a good way to stay connected with your clients and to really nurture those people that are coming into your business, letting them know. And it's more than just, hey, I'm launching minis. You have a chance to really get them to interact with you and to build that community. And your email list is yours. Social media, it's there and then it's not. And then, you scroll and then it's gone after a day. People aren't going back to like look, but your email list really is your baby and you can nurture it however you want.
It's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm going to mention this too because I have an email list that I've had for many years. That was one of the things I actually started with too. I can't remember which photographer told me to do it, but thank
Thank
you to
you,
that
person.
person who I spoke to. Yeah, exactly. It has now been like
That's
22 years or
amazing.
something since I have had it. Um, and I have always used MailChimp because some people are like, where do I go? What do I do to use that? And so I'm just going to give a shout out to MailChimp because that's still who I use. I've been using them since day one. And it's so easy to make these emails that go out. And I am also kind of lazy when it comes to sending these emails. And so to be able to like say, duplicate
Every
last
single time.
campaign and then just change up exactly and just change up a
Yeah.
couple of different things to make it, and they have some really cool AI features that they're offering now that I used in my last couple of newsletters. So that is a great place to start. Anybody that's listening or watching right now, MailChimp has some really great free options too.
Awesome.
So
Yes.
that's
Yep.
where I started, and
That's
they're
awesome.
fantastic.
Yeah. And a newsletter doesn't have to be fancy. I know for myself, I can get so caught up in making
Hmm.
it look good that I just don't do it. And so a lot of times it can just be like checking in. It doesn't have to be huge, especially if you're starting. Like just share some work, almost like even a
Right,
blog.
right.
I love that. I want to talk about, on your website, you mentioned that you are one of the only Black photographers in your field. And so I would love to hear, how would you encourage people that maybe see a photography career they want to go into and they don't see any representation of who they are? Because I can imagine it can be a little bit scary. And so how would you encourage someone to just go
Yeah.
for it?
Yeah, I think so when I started, it was kind of twofold. One, as a from a client perspective, I felt like I didn't see a lot of people that knew how to photograph a variety of skin tones. And our family is really a mixed, like, well, they are. Like we all have different skin tones. My husband is Cuban,
Hmm.
so and he's on the lighter side, and then my children are kind of somewhere in between us. And so finding people that knew how to edit diverse skin tones was a challenge. And so
Yeah.
I knew that if I was feeling that other people were also feeling that way. And so I wanted to reach everyone, but I also wanted to reach the people that felt like I don't know anyone that can photograph me well. And so I
Yeah.
think showing what you're able to do, like in your portfolio, on your social media, is a great place to start. And it's not that every post that I was making was centered around my race or anything like that, but I think because I show
Uh-huh.
up on my feed, and I encourage people, you've got to people need to know who you are. And I know as women, a lot of times we just want to
Hmm.
be like hiding in the background. But
Hmm.
people buy from people. Like people want to invest in people that they feel
Uh-huh.
that they connect with. So I think showing up as who you are and then sharing your work, it's going to start to resonate with the people that it needs to resonate with.
I love that. You're also passionate about diversity and representation in your photography, and just even like at your website, there's, a wide range of couples and families. How would you help photographers that want to be more
Yeah.
inclusive?
Yeah, and that's a great question because a lot of people, and I've done talks on this at conferences. A lot of people are like, I want to have a more diverse portfolio, but I also don't want to just seem like I'm just doing it for the sake of like I need to say I had a
Hmm.
Hispanic person or a black
Exactly.
person
Be
or right, right.
performative.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
so I think just really being honest, a lot of times we overthink things. I think being honest and saying you can put out model calls, and you can be honest and say, I realize that I'm missing people in my portfolio, and that's something I want to change. And it can just be as simple as like I would really like to photograph a Hispanic family and to create some really beautiful images for them, and putting that out there I think that's okay. I think that you can come across respectfully, but also vulnerably.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to admit when you're not great at
Mm-hmm.
something or when you haven't done it yet, you know? And so I've had those types of model
Mm-hmm.
calls. I hadn't really worked with Middle Eastern families. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I need this to change. And I actually ran into a family at a bakery and I kept like, it was a mom and her mom friends and and their babies, and they were all Middle Eastern. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just really wish I could like photograph her. And so I finally stopped being weird and just went over and talked to her. And I was like, I'm sorry I've been staring at you, but I just, I was like, I just really would love to be able to photograph your family. I have been wanting to really diversify my portfolio and to be able to work with families like yours that I haven't had a chance to yet. And it's funny because she said, "Are you the owner of Animal House Photography?" I said, "Yeah," and she's like, "I've been wanting you to photograph my family for years," and I was like, "Well, there you go,"
Yeah.
So it was just really
Wow.
funny.
Cool is
Oh,
that?
wow.
Yeah,
That's so
and so
cool.
but it was great and I've learned a lot. We actually, because there's a lot of cultural things that we needed to account for in our session that I had not yet accounted for. And
Mm.
so I asked a lot of questions. I think asking questions is the best thing. You don't want to just show up and think that you can photograph everybody the same way, be it because of race or
Mm.
culture or
Yeah.
religion or, disability or whatever. I think you've got to really ask and get to know people so that you know how to represent them
Mm.
appropriately. And so
Mhm.
being able to have those conversations, I think is going to go a long way.
That's
Yeah.
such good advice.
It is
Such good
really, really
advice.
good advice. Yes. Yeah. I think about that too, where I've had families from different religions, backgrounds, and having to learn because there are things, just even as a photographer, even how you display your photos, that is maybe something you had never thought about. And if you don't talk to them, you'll
Right.
just never know.
Mhm.
Um, that's really good advice.
Thank you
Well,
for
you can
sharing
see
that.
it in your
Yeah,
portfolio
that's
too.
the thing
Like
is
you can, yep.
your portfolio is just serious. If anybody has not yet gone on to Animal House Photography on Instagram, please do yourself a favor and scroll through right now. It's just
Yeah.
I am so captivated by just the wide range of families you have on there, and just your work is so consistent. And that's also the
Uh-huh.
thing that just drew me into. I'm always so impressed when uh, photography sessions and the editing and everything looks so consistent. People know what they're going to get when they
Right.
hire you.
Uh-huh.
And that is so
Yeah.
important.
And people are just looking, everybody wants the same thing. Like everybody wants their family to be portrayed in a beautiful way. And so for you to be able to have a
Mhm.
portfolio that shows that, and it's going to take,
Mhm.
it may take several model calls, and that's okay because those are helping build your business, but you don't want it to be this like one-time thing. And then you scroll and there's nothing else. Like it's just, oh, I did this one. You really want your portfolio to be diverse and representative of different people.
Uh-huh.
And so it just takes time. It takes time to build that, but I just encourage people to keep trying and, ask the questions, ask the hard questions. Don't be afraid to put yourself
Mhm.
out there. Of course, you'll have people that are unkind, but that is life across the board, but I think so many more
Yeah.
people want to cheer you on and are going to be appreciative that you're trying.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Totally.
And I think that even gets back to what you talk about, building a connection with people, because when you are asking these questions, you're opening yourself up, like you're being vulnerable, admitting that you don't know everything, but you're also getting to know different aspects of people that you maybe wouldn't know before. And that can build that connection that we want with everyone, which is why I think people continue to come back. When you have a repeat client, most of the time is because they've had a
Mhm.
connection with you and they know they made me feel good. I want to work with them again. I like cheering them on.
Mhm.
That's the kind of thing that they're going to remember. I would say even more so than the quality of the photograph. I mean, of course that's important, but you could have like the best photograph in the world, and if the client did not feel
Right.
good when they were there, they're not
Right.
going to like it, you know?
Absolutely.
So the question that we kind of ask everyone is if you were to start your business over again today, what is one thing that you would do differently?
Well, that's a great question.
Or
That's
it
a
could
great
be,
question.
or even
Yeah.
several things.
So I think one, I would have invested more in learning business than I did in learning
Hmm.
like shooting and editing. I think when I was starting, there was so much emphasis on styled shoots, which are fun. I went to a lot of styled shoots, but I left feeling like I didn't learn anything in terms of like progressing my business. And clients, yes, and yes, we want to have excellent work. That's very important. But our clients are not photographers. So they're not like
Uh-huh.
all the tiny details that we notice in the difference between this person's work and that person's work, or this person spent 1 hour on this session editing, this person spent 10 hours editing this session. They actually don't know. And you can tell that because sometimes you see the pictures they share and they're like, this is just the most amazing. And you're like, okay. You're like, okay. But again, it's because it's their family. Like every picture of our family we
Yeah.
love because it's our people, right? And our kids. And so that part's
Yeah.
going to come. But what isn't talked about enough is how to actually sustain a business. And the majority of us have no business backgrounds. We're artists and we jump into this and we think somehow that's going to translate into being a CEO all of a sudden and a financial officer and HR, like all these things that we've never learned about. But now we're like, I have a business. And so I really wish that I had spent the time on the front end investing in learning how to make this thing run because that would have saved me a lot of tears and money. A lot of tears.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I think that would probably be the biggest thing. And then also just having boundaries and not
Yeah.
being afraid
Hmm.
to say no. Um, Learning that saying no is kind. And sometimes we associate saying no as like
Hmm.
we're being mean to people, but we're being kind to ourselves, we're being kind to our families. If we say no to something that doesn't align
Hmm.
or that pulls us away in a negative way from our family, then we're choosing kindness to them. So having those boundaries and being okay with that, I think I wish I would have really grasped that in the beginning, instead of trying to please everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I like it's being kind to yourself and to them. I think that's really powerful. I
Hmm.
need to. I'm already thinking now. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to go and edit this. I'm gonna like copy that quote. I'll set it on my desk.
Exactly. Ah,
That's gonna be
Tiffany,
such a great clip.
oh,
Yeah.
totally. And Tiffany, I know that you know Ambria
Yes.
too, and that Ambria talked about
Yes.
like the like ways to say no. So I feel like I just need to channel my inner Tiffany
Yes.
and
I
Ambria.
love
I just need to
her.
have you both on each side of me, telling me, "Hey, Amanda, right now
It's a
is
good
that good
time.
time to say no? Be
It's a
kind to
good time.
yourself." Like,
And you know what makes it easier? I was just telling one of my students this last week because she has just transitioned from charging like almost nothing to like tripling her rates. And I'm like so proud of her, but that's
good on
scary.
her.
And so now, those
Yeah.
inquiries are still coming in, but the pricing, there's some objection. And so one of the things that has helped is if I already have some emails written that for certain situations.
Mm,
So
such a
then
good
I'm not
idea.
having to put
Mhm.
my feelings like or push my feelings aside. I can just like, here's I've already written it. So there's no emotion attached to like block this
Yeah.
situation. So that can help is if you already kind of have in mind what you want to say in different scenarios, then that can make it a little bit
Hmm.
easier.
I like that. That's yeah.
That's a great idea. Like preemptively coming up with how you would react to things like that. I am one of those, like I will get an email and I will write it like 5 times because I'm like, oh, I get so emotional.
I'm so emotional
so
too. It's so hard. It's really hard. It's so hard.
I think that's just part of being a creative. It really is. Like you just are tapped into this so emotional side of yourself. And so you can't help but take things in and feel them in a certain way when you get the objections from people. And it's it can be really hard. So I to be able to pre-write emails when you are able to take that space for yourself, to put yourself in that mindset and give yourself the energy to put into it when you don't have to like actually be responding specifically to an email where you're like, this person doesn't understand why I have to charge so much. Like, cool. Do it when you get yourself in that mood, write it down, and then have it ready so that you can pop it back in there as a response.
Absolutely.
And that is, Tiffany, I'm going to go ahead and do that later today. That's what I'm going to go do too.
Let's make sure we're ready to go for fall, that we already have those emails.
Seriously. Oh my gosh. No kidding. Honestly, like anybody that's listening and watching, I have been in this career field for over 20 years at this point, and I still struggle with this stuff. This is still the stuff that gets me. And I still have to take the time to remind myself, like, I need to be kind to myself. I need to say no. I need to do this. So I have some pre-written emails, but I'm like Whitney, I kind of just tend to respond as people write in. And now I'm like, you know what? I really do need to write that email of, you know what? I'm booked. And like really take it upon myself to be like, I'm sorry, I'm unavailable. Instead of like, well, let me see when I can squeeze you in, knowing full well that is just going to backfire for me and my family.
And offering them, I've had times where I'm like, I'm full, but if you'd like to get on my spring wait list, and sometimes they're like, yeah, no, I wanted pictures, next week. But then sometimes they might be like, I'll book now and we'll wait, but it's so hard. And I don't know if it gets easier. I think we can prepare ourselves more for the no's, but at every stage and at every price increase, I feel the same, like, oh gosh, this is it. No one's booking ever again and everyone's going to be mad and I can't say no. And it's just hard. I don't know. I think we have to always we need people in our corner that are reminding us, hey, didn't you say you were full for the year?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, so Tiffany, you had mentioned that you have this, group of photographers that you were working with too. And I feel like, if a new photographer can put it in their budget to book something like that, I think that's really great, because then you have a mentor that can tell you these things and give you those gentle reminders. So Tiffany, do you mind really quickly talking a little bit about the group? I know that you were saying that you are going to be starting a new group in January of 2026, correct? Could you talk a little bit about that?
The group coaching I have is called Business in the Margins. And it's like I was telling you, it's about finding your own space for your business, not hustling, not like, grinding harder, but really looking at the schedule and the life that you have and figuring out how to best plan for the hours that you have, how to be strategic. We do a lot with workflows and systems and things that free up your time, so you're not having to do all of those things all the time in your business. And then it's really big on getting you profitable. And so we do a lot with mindset. It starts with mindset. Honestly, money it is a mindset thing. And it's usually we're just so insecure and scared. And so we work on ways to kind of push past that. And it's been super fun watching these women just like triple their rates and still book. And I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm just cheering for them. So,
I love that so much. Okay. Well, we will definitely get the info and the link for that and put it into our show notes and into the newsletter. Because this is a really great opportunity to be able to have somebody in your corner and tell you really like guide you into the ways that will be really good for you in your
Yeah.
business. And when you're new, it's so hard to know what you should be doing. And I don't know.
And
I love the idea of
it
this.
is, and it is a business. I do think that's the hard part. And like you were sharing something you would do different just before, and you were talking about focusing on that business aspect. And I think as creatives, when we forget that it's a business, a lot of times that's when our emotions get in the way and we think more about people's
Absolutely.
feelings. I started to say that and I was like, we do want to consider people's feelings, but also it's a business. You think of these like these companies where they will say no and they will fire people because it's not good for the business. And it's important for you to have at least a little bit
Right.
of that. Or you're just going to get burnt out and you're not going to make money and no one's going to
Right.
benefit.
No, well, and if
So
you quit because you're so burned out, that doesn't
you're
help
working for
anyone.
somebody else's business.
Exactly. You know, and none of us got into this so that we
Yeah.
can just go ahead
Yeah.
and quit because we've burned
Right.
ourselves out. Like
Yes.
that's not why people go into photography and become photographers. And so yeah, to be able to get a really good hold of the business side of things just keeps you doing the thing that you love and giving you the freedom to be able to make space in your life for all of the things that
Yeah.
you want to have for you and your
Absolutely.
family and yourself.
Absolutely.
And then you also have a retreat coming up. And so I would love to hear about
Yes,
this
I'm
retreat.
so the retreat is like my little baby. It started a year ago. It's called Realign and it's in January. And it's all about realigning your business for the coming year, looking at your year prior and then being really strategic about planning your year ahead. So we take 3 days in January, go to a big Airbnb. Everything's catered, like meals are taken care of. So you really just get to show up as the boss. Like you don't have anything to do except for work on the things that actually move your business, like your quarterly planning, which a lot of people are like, quarterly planning, what's that? So like, like things like that. And this year we've got a CFO, so someone that specializes in finance is coming to do like audits with each person and work on your numbers.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
it's
that's
awesome. And then we have an
amazing.
SEO strategist that's going to also come and work on everyone's website. And so like just really high level
Oh my
business.
gosh.
And then we'll
Okay.
shoot. We're also going to do a family
This is
shoot together.
amazing.
So it'll be just a great time. I'm
Fun.
super excited.
Oh my gosh. This is like, okay, my kids had so much fun at their summer camps, and I'm like, I want to go to Tiffany's
Yes.
winter camp.
I know.
And it's at the beach, so it won't be too
So
like
is it?
it won't be that cold. We'll be in Florida,
Ooh,
so
even better.
know.
Oh my gosh. So there
Okay.
you go. Wow.
We're in
At
Florida.
Santa Rosa Beach, so near the around
Okay.
Destin, Panama City. I think between Destin and Panama
Yes.
City.
So cool.
I have stayed there.
Yeah.
I love it.
That'll be great.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm looking
Yes,
forward
I
to
would
it for me
totally-
as well. Like I'm like
Yeah.
I need all of those things that are going to be there. I also need all of those things. So I'm super excited about learning
That's
as
amazing.
well. So
Yeah.
What an amazing
It's such a great idea.
That's I know. I was
Yeah.
literally just thinking that, like, gosh, that's so cool. And like you said, just setting the time up to work on those things. Because I think that's the other part that we're not always
Mhm.
great at as creatives is scheduling. Like scheduling our family's photo shoots, scheduling, whatever work
Right.
you need to do is one
Yeah.
thing. But actually taking the time to schedule things for you to work on in your business just
Yep.
usually gets
Right.
deprioritized. So to do that, and especially like great timing in January when most of us tend to have a slower season, depending on where you live. But most of us are, you're coming off of the Christmas break where families and individuals have, kind of spent their money and they're not looking in January to do
Right.
any of that. Like
Yeah.
awesome time when things have slowed down to really concentrate on what you want for the year ahead and what will work for your business. And like you said, the reflection of what did I do last year that worked and what didn't, and just to allow that space to be
Yeah.
able to analyze. And like you said, like that name, by the way, is just
Thank you. I
wonderful.
appreciate
Like,
that.
Realign.
Love
So
it.
amazing.
And I would, if I could give like one more little encouragement, even if something like a retreat is not
Yeah.
doable for you, in that capacity, this retreat actually started because I was, for the last 4 years, have been taking like the first weekend in January away. I would either go stay somewhere a little bit out of town at a friend's house, or if I had the budget, a hotel, whatever, but would take like a weekend, a long weekend, and solely work on my business, on like the reflection piece and the planning. And
Good on
that
you.
really set my year off on such a great start. Like, I think we've got to have those little, I call them CEO days. Just like any other business, we've got to treat it that way. So I would encourage you, even if it's, in your guest room, locked away where your kids don't know you're in there, like only your husband knows that you're hiding in there for the weekend, or, or wherever, but just to have a little bit of time that you can just really plan for your business.
That is such a great idea. I love it. I think that's, and especially if you're a parent or you just have so much going on, being able to focus on this stuff, because it is harder to get focused on. And yeah, you can do that and not pay anything. Thank you so much. I have learned a lot today, and it has been super fun. And I keep thinking of these questions.
This has been super fun. I'm like, this is so fun.
We will be putting all of this information, links to where you can get on the waiting list for your coaching, links to the retreat, everything is going to be in our newsletter. So if you haven't signed up for a newsletter, do that. We also have the information on our podcast, and we're going to link all of your socials as well, where people can follow you, your website, and we're just so grateful to be able to talk to you. And I
thank
know,
you for coming on, Tiffany.
Yeah, I have learned a lot, and I hope you listeners have learned a lot from her. I would have loved to have listened to this podcast with you when I was starting out.
100%.
Which I don't think
we did.
No,
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know.
we had long form blog posts.
Very long.
Is really what I feel like we had.
Yes. Okay. Take care, everyone.
We'll see you on the next
Bye.
episode of The Edit. Bye.
Okay, Photo BFFs, if you have not subscribed, do that right now so you never miss a new episode. You can also find us at theeditweekly.com, where we have free resources and downloads for you to help grow your photo business.